Welcome back in a Fox News alert. American soldiers head overseas in the wake of that violent attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad.
This as Iran taunts President Trump over violence and Iraqi leaders push to expel U.S. forces from the region. So is a show of military strength our next best move? Here to weigh in is senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate it this morning.
My pleasure. Great to be with you, and Happy New Year. Happy
New Year to you, too. So what do you think? Sending troops over, is that the answer?
It's part of the right answer. I think the administration is hitting all the right notes here. Embassy security, the security of America's diplomatic and military installations in the region, particularly in Iraq, which is slated to be a battleground between the U.S. and Iran in 2020, is definitely the right move. Sending Marines can help with embassy security. It also sends a message of resolve to the Iranians and Iran-backed forces, which are looking to quote-unquote protest or swarm or do further attacks on the embassy, as well as to the Iraqi government, which should help secure these facilities.
President Trump tweeting best equipment and finest military in the world on site quickly. Talk about the difference. I mean, we saw what the disaster in Benghazi was. The president on this one jumped all over it.
That's right, and it should be a nonpartisan proposition that, based on what's been reported, which is that there's been no one killed and no one taken hostage, that what happened in Baghdad recently is not Tehran 1979 and is not Benghazi circa 2013.
Let's get your reaction to the Ayatollah's response on this. And this says, quote, firstly, you can't do anything. And secondly, if you were logical, which you're not, you'd see that your crimes in Iraq, Afghanistan have made nations hate you. What do you say about that?
You know, it's really interesting when Iran's hardest of hardliners, particularly Ayatollah Khamenei, are willing to use social media platforms like Twitter, because he did tweet that out in English, or his office at least did, which is a platform that is restricted to millions of Iranians at home, but these hardliners can use it to inject their vitriol and their politics into our debates here. So first of all, that's just disgusting that simply someone like Khamenei is allowed to keep a social media account like that. And second, you know, this is Iran's supreme leader trying to find a way to use those who disagree with the president to hinder American foreign policy. And so it should be, again, a nonpartisan proposition that when autocrats who are adversaries of America stand up, we all stand united.
You know, Obama's critics say that it was his administration that made this kind of a maneuver possible, that all the money that they threw at Iran to sign the Iran nuclear deal allowed them to build up these proxy militias, and that's why we have this problem. What do you say to that?
You know, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, I should say, is a country who is very cognizant of its conventional military deficiencies, which is why for almost 40 years now it's been the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism. And under any deal, it's never a good proposition to give the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism pallets of cash. And unfortunately, that's what happened in the JCPOA nuclear deal. That's the 2015 Iran nuclear deal.
You know, Mike Pompeo had something to say about this. He said that he spoke with the Iraqi prime minister, who agreed that Iraq would continue to uphold its responsibility to keep U.S. personnel secure and would move the Iran-backed attackers away from the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. He says we'll continue cooperation to hold Iran and its proxies responsible. You know, you do have those people who will argue that President Trump ran on bringing troops home, but a lot of people, including Joey Jones, we had him on, he served overseas. He lost both of his legs. He said, you know, it's a response. It's different.
It is different, and what makes it different moving ahead is that America is going to need to develop better local partners, work better with local institutions, and keep the limited forces that it has in the region to get a better economy of force moving forward, to do things like intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, diplomatic security, and if there are missions, to be able to partner with local forces to make sure America's interests and security, as well as those of our allies and partners who help us with our interests and security, are actually furthered. So think of a force multiplier here. How do we do more with less?
Right. Behnam, thanks so much for coming on today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right.